Hello and welcome to Hughes of the World. This is Morning Brew. I'm Graham Hughes. Good to have you here with us. Sorry I was late getting started there. Had to go and adjust some things in the back that were getting blown away by the wind. It's very windy out there. It's very windy. It's ludicrously windy here in Durham at the moment. I don't know what it's like at your place, but hopefully there's a big storm brewing and it's going to go all the way over to America and just rain on Trump's parade, or as he likes to call it, his UFC cage fight that he's having in celebration of America's 250th anniversary. Because that makes sense. Anyway, so sorry to keep you waiting there. I'm glad everyone was having a good time in the chat while I was away. There was Diz in there. There was Person Impersonator. Got Chris C as well. Billy Kershaw dropping in there. Welcome one, welcome all. We've got Saz, I can see. Lost Missionary. Okay, so if you want to join our friends in the chat here, all you need to do, join our friends, just all you need to do to join our friends, just join them here. All you need to do is to hit that big juicy subscribe button and wait for approximately, not very long, 1 minute. And we have one rule here, and it's just don't be a troll. You know, I'm not being funny, but there are literally like a million other avenues for your stupidity on the internet. And you can be as stupid as you like and be as offensive as you like on these platforms and on those different channels, but not on this channel, okay? Go away. Go and annoy someone else. Today we're going to be talking about the world's first trillionaire, Elon Musk, who is, well, apparently, after the initial public offering, the IPO of his company SpaceX, which comprises of, let's have a look here, Starlink satellites. There's Grok, which you can use to undress underage girls. There is so it's a child porn production thing. There's a thing they has that explodes rockets. That's a rocket exploding company that he has. He gets billions of dollars off the US government, and he used that to make rockets blow up. He's got Starlink satellites. He's got what else in there? Oh, Twitter, yeah. The X platform, which doesn't make any money, and he's just there to be a troll. You know, he'd rather be a troll than a mod. But there you go. So yeah, apparently, this is all worth what, $28 trillion, according to the market cap, based on how many shares were sold yesterday and how much they were sold for. 28 trillion. 28 trillion. Do you know how much that is? The GDP of the UK is like 3 trillion. The GDP of the UK is $3 trillion. That's 28 trillion is more than the GDP of the European Union. In fact, someone worked out that there's about 1 billion people who live in what we call the developed nations of the world. Could call them the first world, Western civilization, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that works out to $28,000 for every man, woman, and child who lives in the developed world. Are you going to pay that to Musk for what? Starlink? I mean, if you live in a city, what's the point? It's a shitty service. It's great for if you live out in the country, or you got your own private island. Yeah, sure, get on Starlink. You're on your yacht sailing around the world. Yeah, get on Starlink. But everybody else, I mean, you're best off getting optic fiber. It's not affected by the weather. But yeah. So anyway, before this IPO, apparently Elon Musk's net worth was $800 billion, and it passed 1 trillion yesterday once SpaceX shares traded above the key valuation threshold. This milestone comes 110 years after John D. Rockefeller, as in the Rockefeller skank, became the world's first billionaire in 1916. Musk is now roughly worth as much as Larry Page, creator of Google with Sergey Brin, Jeff Bezos, and Larry Ellison combined. That's all four, by the way. What I want to ask today is, what does it mean when the world's richest person helped dismantle life-saving aid systems for the poorest people on Earth. And the frustration that he didn't have to do this. And it's like a Bond villain thing going on right now, where you have a Bond villain and they've got all this money and all they want to do is blow up the moon. And you're like, well, why don't you do something nice with it? Or, if you are a bit of a narcissist, why don't you just, I don't know, have a party? Just have a party every night, like the Great Gatsby. You could be the Great Twatsby, Musk. You'd be famed for your parties. Let's have a party on your yacht. Invite your friends. Hope some killer whales don't turn up and spoil the party. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Go on, you have a good time. Why are these Bond villains all obsessed with blowing up the atmosphere or poisoning the land? And you're like, that's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit of a weird thing, to have all that money, all that power. Anything. You could do anything. And what they choose to do is something horrible. But that's exactly what has played out in real life with Elon Musk. Just to put Graham in a really good mood, it's just gone past a closed private school that's been demolished for new housing. Hey, excellent, Chris C. I was going to mention David Hockney died yesterday, and that's sad. I did like David Hockney. I think he was a trailblazer. I think that he changed the social attitudes towards the LGBT plus community, which is great. And he went to a school, which I haven't looked this up yet, but it's one of those schools that's called a grammar school. But for the last at least 30, 40 years, it's been a private school. And I've got to check up whether it was a private school when David Hockney went there. And this isn't dissing David Hockney. I just want to make the point that we need to not call out in a way that disrespects the people who have done very well for themselves or been trailblazers in their field and the good that they've done. But we need to point out that the people who can make a difference, the people who are allowed to make a difference in our society tend to come from the upper echelons of our society in the UK. And something that if you were working class would get you thrown in jail or killed. If you are part of the upper echelons, then not only can you get away with it, but you can be celebrated for it. And that's a privilege that the privileged few have got. And I've spoken before about the fact that if Banksy wasn't a very, very posh white boy who went to a private Corval school in Bristol, then there'd be a good chance that he'd be in jail right now. He was a black kid from Brixton and probably be in jail for graffitiing things, causing public damage, vandalism, etc., etc. And you also see this with medical issues. The pertinent examples right now are euthanasia and gender affirming care. Two things that are available to the upper echelons who can afford to go to Dignitas or can afford to go somewhere else and get their puberty blockers for their kids or to have gender affirming surgery somewhere else other than this horrible country at the moment. And the rest of us can't. I say this all the time about Europe, about the fact that the upper echelons took away your right and my right to go and live and work anywhere in Europe. They took our right to live in Europe for more than 3 months at a time without having to come back here for 3 months. And for those who, bought a house in France or Spain or Greece, hoping to retire there, that dream's been taken away from Nigel Farage. By Nigel Farage. He hasn't taken it away from himself. And he certainly hasn't taken it away from his own children who have German passports. Tommy Robinson hasn't taken it away from himself. He's got an Irish passport. That's how he can spend most of his time snorting coke off a hooker's arse crack in Spain, where he lives most of the time when he's not in Russia. My granddad used to be a caretaker of a local private school, and we used to get perks of helping him clear out the lockers during the school holidays. Got my first pair of Nike Air Max from those lockers, says old boy. I love it. There you go. There's some key redistribution there, which is nice. Lost says we need a way to separate these ultra wealthy from any sort of governing influence. Can't see it being possible, really. It is possible, and look, The rise of the middle class after the Second World War was facilitated by the fact that the very, very rich people of the time, the Hearst, the Rockefellers, they were all kept in check by the US government over here. You know, these people were kept in check by the government by taxes. In the 1960s, the top rate of income tax went up to 98%. 98%. So there was a certain threshold. It just wasn't worth earning more than that. And so what people used to do is they used to invest. They used to invest the money. They didn't just put it in a bank account, you know, or buy a house with it. Which I know it's an investment now, but it shouldn't be. Housing should be. It's like investing in food or water. It's like, why are you investing in this stuff? We need it to live. I'm not saying it should be free, but it certainly shouldn't be all at a premium. You know, food at a premium, water at a premium, energy at a premium. Yeah, the people were like, well, I can only earn so much in tax. So what I'll do is I'll set up a recording studio for other bands to maybe be as successful as me and my mates. I'm really annoyed because the sentence handed down to Palestine Action activists yesterday because the judge classified them as terroristic acts. They are subjected to terrorist notifications. Yeah, Chris, see, and this is it almost seems like barbaric in a way that the terrorists running around Belfast earlier this week saying that Ireland should be for the Irish. A lot of Irish Republicans looking at them going, yeah, when are you leaving? But the violence that was caused in Belfast, in East Belfast, was nearly all Unionists, was nearly all Protestants. Same thing. And those motherfuckers who burnt down someone's house, they weren't classed as terrorists. What were they trying to do except terrorize people? I think we need a new definition of terrorism, to be honest with you, because the legal definition of terrorism is far too narrow and ridiculous, where you've got an old granny who's sitting down, you know, in the middle of College Green outside Parliament with a little bit of cardboard that says Palestine Action on it. And she's arrested by the police and given a sentence. And meanwhile, these fuckers, you know, under the Terrorist Act, meanwhile, these fuckers in Northern Ireland and in Southampton and in Southport a couple of years ago, they go there to terrorize the communities, in this country. That is the point. In the same way that the IRA wanted to terrorize the Ulster Unionists, the paramilitary wing of the Ulster Unionists wanted to terrorize people. So they hit civilian targets. Al-Qaeda wanted to terrorize civilians. That's why they picked civilian targets. What could be a more civilian target than a hotel filled with vulnerable women and children, or someone's home being burnt down because the person is from a different background and is an ethnic background? How is that not terrorism? Not just for the person who has the house burnt down, but a warning for everybody else. How is that not terrorism? But holding a sign that says Palestine Action is. Come on. What? Yeah. Anyway, so what have we got here? It's totally outrageous, people burning houses and cars, but you can't hold a sign up protesting genocide. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I understand that the Palestine Action, for whatever reason, is a prescribed organisation, and so you shouldn't support it. But, I mean, there's got to be some kind of proportionality here. And I don't think that Palestine Action actually burnt down anyone's house, did they? Not that I know of. I know they battered a police officer, a female police officer who still can't go back to work because she was, grievous bodily harm was committed to her by activists from Palestine Action. But why is that any different from the police officers and the police dog that was injured a couple of weeks ago in Southampton? The output's still the same. Police officers being injured. Meanwhile, in America, if you beat up a police officer, stamped on his head and forced him to commit suicide a few days later, Trump wants to give you $1 million fucking dollars. Hardly a disincentive not to be a terrorist, is it? Good people on both sides, he'll probably say. Anyway, so why SpaceX S1 this company. It frames the company about making life multiplanetary, expanding consciousness, and making an orbital AI compute, something like that. Like they want to put AI data centers in space, which will work great until a small meteorite traveling at 17 times the speed of sound decides to pass through it like it was tissue paper. So yeah, that should be interesting. And he wants to send people to Mars. Mars? You mean that frozen fucking hellhole where you'll die of radiation poisoning within 6 months of being there, as particles stream from the sun, and there's no magnetic core sloshing around, molten magnetic core like we have on Earth. And what do you get when you don't have a molten magnetic core? Well, you have no life. Look at the moon. The moon has no molten core. It has no protection from anything that's coming towards it. In fact, it's worked as the Earth's shield for millions and millions and millions of years. But yeah, SpaceX is no longer just rockets. Musk's empire now includes launch systems, Starlink that I've mentioned, Shitter, Twitter, whatever you call it these days, XAI, which is like Grok, satellites, AI infrastructure, government contracts, and the IPO filing for SpaceX reportedly lists Musk's personal conduct as a risk factor. And his fortune depends heavily on public infrastructure, federal contracts, and strategic state reliance. And here's the thing, like, he is going to spend as much money as he can to keep the Republicans in power. When the big, beautiful day comes and they need to replace Trump, he is going to be there pouring so much money into it because he knows that if a Democrat gets in, they're going to go, nah, I'm not going to give this fucker any more money, are we? And don't forget, this is Elon Musk, the man behind DOGE. In fact, it is as cold as hell. Talking about Mars, it's no place to raise the kids. But yeah, DOGE originally promised $2 trillion. This is where the like funny money. And I think that this whole IPO thing, that this floating the stocks of, well, small proportion of B grade stocks that don't get any voting rights on the stock market, on the Nasdaq. I think that this may go, and I might be wrong, but I think this might well go the way of NFTs, which have lost like 99.99999% of their value in the last few years. When Musk first came about with Tesla and SpaceX, I thought this guy was a real Tony Stark. What was science fiction into reality? I really liked him, but then he started talking. Yeah. His ventures have to be a bubble. I refuse to believe that evaluation is anywhere near realistic. What, $228,000 for every man, woman, and child who lives in a developed nation? Yeah, it seems a bit mad, doesn't it? And Chris says, yeah, those convicted of terroristic offensive or classed as high-risk sexual offender are subject to polygraph examinations. If you are failed, you're sent back to jail. Is that in America? That can't be here. That polygraphs, they still use them in America. You may as well use a fucking pair of sticks. You may as well read the fucking tea leaves. And the thing about polygraphs is psychopaths love polygraphs because psychopaths are really good at it because they don't elicit an emotional response. All it tells you is that your heart rate goes up, basically, when you ask the question. And if you're a normal, squishy human being, then, yeah, it does. Especially if you're asked about something that, if you are accused of something that you didn't do, your heart rate will fucking jump a fucking mile. Unless you're a psychopath. So, yeah, the psychopath's friend. The psychopath's friend. The polygraph. Polygraphs and psychopaths go hand in hand. Polygraphs are not reliable enough to use as evidence, but are used as a psych tool to intimidate. Yeah. By psychopaths. Probably work in the Justice Department. Anyway, so let's talk about Doge for a moment. This promised to get rid of $2 trillion, right? And that target fell to $1 trillion. Then it fell to $150 billion. And the Cato Institute, which is a right-wing think tank over in America, found that DOGE did not reduce federal spending. Federal spending reached about $7.6 trillion in the first 11 months of 2025, around $248 billion higher than at the same point the year before, when Biden was in charge. Betsy Stevenson estimated DOGE's real early savings at roughly 1 billion to 7 billion, not the claimed 55 billion, not the claimed 150 billion, not the claimed 1 trillion or 2 trillion. What it did do is cut 271,000 federal jobs. That was a 9% fall in federal employment. One of the biggest employers in the country, in America, is the Fed. It's the Federal Reserve, but the federal apparatus of state. And Cato described it as the largest peacetime workforce cut on record. And that was a 10% federal workforce. A 10% federal workforce cut saves only about $40 billion annually, because most federal spending is not on salaries. And a lot of people who were unfairly dismissed then turned around and sued the employer, the government, for dropping them for no good reason. Musk later said that DOGE was only a little bit successful. That's what he said, a little bit successful, and reported that he would not do it again. Here's the news. It wasn't successful at all. It threw over 200,000, a quarter of a million, threw over a quarter of a million Americans effectively on the scrap heap at a time when getting a job is difficult the best of times. But that wasn't Musk's greatest crime last year when he was running around with Trump, selling fucking Teslas on the White House lawn. He also destroyed USAID. And I really want to get into this. USAID funded global health, nutrition, vaccination, HIV prevention, malaria control, tuberculosis treatment, famine warnings, and emergency relief. Now, there's a big push on the right that does not believe in anything that doesn't affect them personally. You've seen this. There's people on the right that don't believe that autism is a thing. They don't believe ADHD is a thing. They don't believe that AIDS is a thing, or HIV. Some of them don't believe that cancer is a thing until cancer actually affects them. Some of these people don't think measles is a thing. They think that vaccines don't work. They think that vaccines actually cause more harm than they do good. The absolutely wiped out Carib people of the Caribbean would have a few words to say about that if they were still here. If they hadn't been wiped out by smallpox, which we wiped out the smallpox in the 70s, and no one's died of it since. It's almost as though vaccines work. We almost got rid of measles, but these motherfuckers brought it back. And so these people don't believe in global health. They don't believe in nutrition. They don't believe in COVID. They don't believe that COVID actually fucking happened, even though it absolutely did. And hundreds of thousands of people died all over the fucking planet. I have a friend of mine who was on a ventilator for fucking weeks. But no, it's all fake. These are the same people who honestly believe that every airline in every country in the world, and every pilot and co-pilot of every fucking airplane in the world right now is part of a worldwide conspiracy to make vapor trails come out of the back of the plane. What? Well, why would they do that? Well, because they need to spray chemicals on us to make us subservient. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. But they believe it. And so when these motherfuckers who vote for refuck and restore and Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Tommy 10 Names and for Nigel Farage and Brexit and all this kind of shit, right? When people vote for that, right, they're basically voting to not to hold reality in low regard. Should we call it that, right? Try and be nice, Graham. They've got no interest in anyone who's not them. And Rupert Lowe and Nigel Farage have placed a bet on Britons being bastards. The majority of Britons being absolute motherfucking dead set, copper-bottomed cunts. I don't think that we are. I think most people are all right. But there's a lot of information being channeled at us at the moment. And it is a little bit of overwhelm for a lot of people. So they switch off. They have their beliefs and they stick to them. And then you've got USAID or USAID. There's a guy called Nicholas Enrich who worked at USAID under 4 administrations, and then he became the acting assistant administrator for global health in January 2025. And he says Musk targeted USAID after absorbing conspiracy theories from podcasts and right-wing media, which are not harmless, and one of the things that I really, really believe need to be regulated. But, you know, let's leave it. Let's make it the Wild West and claim that freedom of speech is more important than the lives of babies. The freedom of speech for dickheads, for the meth stream media. Yeah. Diz is saying, support the channel with a super chat. Yes. If you can make Diz's day with a super chat, well, if you can get 5 of them, you don't have to give all 5. But if someone gives 5 different people give a little bit, then we can release the confetti cannon. We can explode the confetti cannon all over the screen. That's it. Big explosion all over the screen. So yeah, Musk called USAID a criminal organization. Bit rich for someone working for the Trump family fucking mafia, the Trump crime family. And he celebrated feeding USAID into the wood chipper. That's his words that he used. And in fact, Enrich's whistleblower book is called Into the Wood Chipper on this, in which he talks about political employees narrowed life-saving because USAID had to give life-saving support, right? Life-saving aid. But they narrowed the definition so much and so absurdly that Ebola prevention did not qualify. But that's okay, because most of the people who vote for Trump and vote for Elon Musk and think he's God's gift to the universe, they don't believe in Ebola. They don't, because they've never had Ebola, so they don't believe in it. They don't believe in polio. They don't believe in meningitis. They don't believe in Nile River fever, yellow fever, and Japanese encephalitis. They don't believe in Japanese encephalitis. They don't believe in any of this stuff. They'll go on holiday and they won't take malaria pills. They won't get any vaccinations because they don't believe in it. Do you know what do believe in those viruses? The fucking viruses themselves. Can't believe this. Wow. Imagine millions of humans teaming up and barracking for the viruses. We have fought a arms race against viruses since the first amoeba split in two and became a multi-celled creature. That viruses have grown with the world, grown with the living things on the planet. They can affect anything. They can affect trees. Diseases can affect trees. They can affect humans. They can affect cattle. Parasites, viruses, diseases. And we're always having to fight back. And if you have no natural resistance to these diseases, well, you fucking die, don't you? Like so many people did in the Caribbean, like so many people did in South America, like so many people did in North America. Good news though. We got some super chats in. Hey, we got like, look at that. 5 in a row. That's amazing. Goal achieved. Well done, Diz. Look at that. That's the Diz effect. The Diz effect. Thank you, Diz. That's very kind of you. Old Poi says confetti. George only says DOGE was never fully intended to cut federal spending. DOGE was intended to remove civil servants who went fundamentally pro-Trump and MAGA. Yes. Yeah, it absolutely was. Oh, my arm has been twisted, says Richard. Yep. Saz says that's nothing, just a £2 super chat. Thank you. And Martin Harrow just says goal. So we'll say that. Right, 3, 2, 1, goal. There you go. That's for the World Cup. Did anyone see the figures last night? Did anyone see the figures for how many people were at the World Cup? Sorry, not at the World Cup match, but actually watched the World Cup match at 2 o'clock this morning, Paraguay versus the USA. Like, what? 2 o'clock in the morning? That's British summertime, right? So in the rest of Europe, Western Europe, it would be 3 o'clock. Central Europe, it would be 4 a.m. And then you go through all of Africa. Yeah, middle of the night for everyone wanting to watch it in the whole continent of Africa. Middle of the night for Europe. Middle of the night for all the Middle Eastern countries. Getting up to starting 6 o'clock in the morning, I guess, if you're in Dubai. In India, where they don't really watch football, they're 5.5 hours ahead. So maybe 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. Would you get up early? Would you get up at 6:30 in the morning to watch? I don't know. Hopefully there's lots of people watching it in China. I don't know. Graham, your channel is being hidden in my YouTube. I have to search you out to find your lives. Oh dear, Liam. I don't know why that's happening. Sorry, keep missing them. That's a bit odd. I don't know. Did you hit something weird? Did you accidentally hit the not interested thing? I don't know, mate. Have you clicked on the bell? Yeah, Liam. Have you clicked on the bell? Asked Diz. The bell end. Hang on. Oh God. Oh, good job. I got that really quick mute my microphone button on my microphone so I can turn it off so you don't have to hear me sneezing. ADHD says it is. Anyway, so yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, so Ebola, right? Ebola prevention did not qualify as life-saving, right? So disease surveillance and monitoring were blocked because officials demanded proof of the exact person whose life would be saved. This is similar to how the Tories blocked any kind of onshore wind farms while they were in charge for the last 8 years of their reign of error. Because they just said, oh, well, if one person complains about it, then complains about the idea of building a single wind turbine, it will not be built. The oil companies paid a lot of money for that, by the way. And also the DOGE damaged payment system, so restarted programs could not reliably pay partners. Tuberculosis and malaria programs were obstructed because specialist teams had been put on administrative leave. And contracts needed to deliver life-saving aid was terminated, making exemptions meaningless in practice. And the scale of the carnage in the wake of what they did, of what this motherfucker Elon Musk, the world's first trillionaire, did, is not impossible to quantify. It's just horrifying to quantify. So Boston University's Brooke Nichols modeled the deaths linked to USAID cuts, and it projected more than 780,000 deaths as a direct result of the cuts. I'm going to have to blow my nose, so just hold on there a moment. I'll cover trauma. My cold's come back. It's all right for. I had a cold when I was doing the 65-hour fucking live stream. I had a cold the whole way through. But I mean, my desk at the end of it looked like something from a teenager's bedroom under the bed or something. It was horrible. So I collect everything up, throw it in the bin. But yeah, I seem to go and snivel again. Anyway, so the Nicholas Kristof of Boston University estimated more than 750,000 deaths worldwide in the first year alone. Enric told Oxfam conservative estimates showed 750,000 unnecessary deaths already, with up to 14 million deaths possible over the next 5 years. Wider aid defunding studies project millions of preventable deaths by 2030 if cuts continue. That is absolutely horrifying. And Musk did that. The savior of the human race, the man who sold the world. And then Nature, the magazine, reports severe acute malnutrition affects about 13.7 million children worldwide a year. Untreated severe acute malnutrition can kill up to 60% of those kids. And community-based treatment can reduce the mortality down to below 5%. And Nature estimates that the cutting treatments for 2.3 million children would cause an extra 369,000 extra child deaths per year. So that's nearly 370,000 children dying as a result of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. The US funded severe wasting program terminations, which one of the other programs they terminated when they got rid of, they gutted USAID, could deny treatment to 1 million children. 1 million children, and cause an extra 163,000 child deaths annually. Trump did that. Elon Musk did that. And you know what? None of the people who vote for them, none of the people who go for this, none of the fuckers and the UKippers and the Brexiteers, shitters, none of them give a flying fuck about any of these people, any of these kids. It's someone else's problem. There's a whole someone else's problem field generated around Africa, Asia, so anywhere that seems far away. Any place they can't identify on a map doesn't really exist to these people. It's just most of the outside world. Farsight, for me, it tends to periodically do everything. We got another goal created. Goal achieved straight away. Did we get confetti in the chat then? That went a bit weird. No, it's just my chat's come up a bit odd. It's the best gang, says Diz. Yay, we're the best gang. So yeah, just to give a couple of real world examples here. So as a result of the DOGE cuts, presided over by Elon Musk, who bragged about feeding USAID into the wood chipper. That's the expression he used. In Nigeria, Helen Keller International had to stop nutritional services for 5.6 million children. In Sudan, almost 80% of emergency food kitchens were reported closed. In Ethiopia, therapeutic food supplies for around 1 million severely malnourished children were at risk of running out. FEWS Net, a key famine early warning system, was left idle. USAID supported about half the world's supply of ready-to-use therapeutic food. And that's gone now. And there's also a knock-on effect here for American farmers, American suppliers who used to make the food that was shipped out. The Musk lot and all those gobshites, they allowed millions of dollars worth of medical equipment, medicines, and food to just rot in warehouses or on a boat. They just didn't get delivered. They just stopped everything overnight. And it's one thing to kick a family out of the house that they've lived in for years, right? If you're an evil landlord, and give them, let's say, 2 months' notice to find somewhere else. That's a shitty thing to do, right? But at least they gave them 2 months' notice so they could find alternative accommodation. Compare that with a landlord that literally turns up one night while the people in the house are watching Coronation Street halfway through the fucking dinner and says, that's it, all you out now, on the street, grab what you can, get on the street, get out my house. Which is illegal to do in this country now. I don't think it was illegal under the Tories, but it's illegal now, so that's good. But that's exactly what these disruptive motherfuckers did. You know, by feeding USAID into the wood chipper, by stopping instantly this aid and this support. This is what he did. You also need to talk about Gavi. The Gavi supports vaccine programs in poorer countries, and there's research that finds for every $1 spent on vaccines in poor countries returns $54 in reduced health costs and wider benefits. And this is why the pharmaceutical companies are so glad that anti-vaxxers exist. Because you got to look at it like this, like anti-vaxxers, the attitude that pharmaceutical companies have towards anti-vaxxers is kind of like the attitude that Saudi Arabia has towards Israel. If it didn't exist, it'd be necessary to invent it. I mean, on the surface, they're against it. They say, oh, these anti-vaxxers, oh, yeah, they're naughty people. But they don't really do much about them. They don't pressure the government to stop them spreading their misinformation, disinformation on all these platforms, because it's in the big pharmaceutical companies' interest for kids not to get vaccinated, because then they get fucking ill. And then, if your pet gets ill and you take your dog or your cat to the vet and you end up spending thousands of pounds to keep your dog or your cat alive, how much would you spend to keep your son alive or your daughter, eh? How much would you spend to keep a loved one alive? Everything you've got. If you had a choice whether to lose your house or lose your daughter, what would you choose? You'd choose the house every fucking time. And the pharmaceutical companies know this. They're like, oh yeah, anti-vaxxers, please don't tell people not to get vaccinated. The cost of vaccinating someone against measles is $1. The cost of treating someone for their entire life because they go deaf because they had measles, like my partner Catherine, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Over the course of a lifetime, maybe millions. $1 versus millions. They want people disabled. They want people to be have to have special additions to their life. They have to be. They want people to have to be on a regimen of pills for the rest of their life. That's great for them. It's great for their bottom line. That's all they care about. I'm not saying that everyone who works at Big Pharma is evil. They're definitely not. They do some good. They come up with life-saving medicines. They come up with life-saving, disease-preventing vaccines. Take a step back and have a look at who actually benefits from the anti-vax crusaders. These crunchy moms. It's the fucking pharmaceutical companies that they rail against. Who benefits from people really believing that the vapor trails left by planes, which is the same sort of chemical reaction that you're having when you go outside and you breathe on a cold day and you can see your breath. That's all it is. You breathe on a window, draw a willy on the window. It's the same fucking process. It's a plane. The plane's a little bit warmer than the surrounding air, which is very cold up there, and it creates a vapor trail by disrupting the air. That's how it works. But you know what? Do you know who benefits from them? Fucking airline companies. Because while people are making shit up about something that the airline companies aren't doing, which is, seeding clouds or whatever they think they're doing, what they are doing, which is burning a fuck ton of fossil fuels every day, it's very conveniently ignored. Do you know what? This is the thing. For companies, for the right wing in general, for the right wing grift, dickheads are the best thing in the world. Like the absolute fucking best thing. That's why Trump said himself, I love the uneducated. Remember when he said this? Dickheads. And dickheads, and their money are quickly parted. I think that was P.T. Barnum who said that. There's a sucker born every minute. That's what he said. There's a sucker born. Oh, fucking is. And yet the people who are the most vocal about vaccines not working and not really being a thing are also the people who, the pharmaceutical companies that they rail against. They're like the busy mates. Like, yeah, this is great. This is wonderful. You got that fucking dead talk. Who's that guy? Robert Kennedy over in America, right? He sounds like a corpse. He sounds like a corpse when he talks, like a reanimated corpse. That's what he sounds like. And he's saying, drink raw milk. And the pharmaceutical companies are going, what? You're going to drink more? Oh, this is fucking brilliant. Yeah, get yourself some fucking listeria. Get yourself a bit of botulism. Yeah, get yourself some fucked up, horrific slime inside you that's going to fuck you up for a very long time. It might not kill you, but bloody hell, the treatment's going to be expensive, isn't it? Cool, yeah. Get people to just drink poison. Go on. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you drink poison hemlock, you'll be fine, I'm sure. It's a country where blue cheese is banned. Anyway, Pretty Kate Machine. Ha ha ha. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Sprinkling birthday confetti for everyone. Oh, is it your birthday, Kate? Okay, this is for Pretty Kate Machine. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Thank you so much. That is very kind of you. And you got a little bit of Hobbit there, because obviously when it was Bilbo Baggins' birthday, when it was his 1st birthday, he had to buy presents for everybody else, which I love. I love that idea, right? Because all my life, right, every couple of weeks, I've got to go and buy I've got to get online and I've got to buy a present for someone because it's a fucking birthday, or it's anniversary, or it's Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, Easter, whatever. I spend half my life buying stupid little presents that people go, oh, thanks for that, and then probably throw them away. I like the idea of just having one day a year when you get all the presents for everyone. Just one day, that's it. So you can prep for it, get all the presents, and then you give them all to people. And then you, as the present receiver, it's much nicer to receive presents than to have to give them, isn't it? You only have to give them once a year. It's the way the hobbits do it, and everyone else. That's fucking great. Every day you get presents. Sounds awesome to me. Anyway, thank you very much to Pretty Kate Machine for the £2 super chat on her birthday. We've got Liam Fairhurst here, £5 super chat. I'm loving that Trump's name is already being ripped down from stuff by the courts. Don't be fooled by the media. The House of Cards is indeed collapsing. Yep, I hope so. I hope it rains to fuck tomorrow night when they have this cage fight. I hope it's miserable. I hope it's squeaky tank levels of fucking misery. That's what I want. Bring on the squeaky tank. I just want it to be there, just on its own, squeaking along in the rain, and Trump looking miserable as fuck. And I hope that this wishing Trump a very happy last birthday. We hope. So yes, indeed. Trump seems to hate his children, most of his children anyway. Oh well, hate is probably too strong a word. He sees them only as extensions of himself. He doesn't really hate his kids. He sorts things out so they're very, very, very rich. The Trump crime family is well and truly operating at the moment. Have you seen Hunter Biden's become an internet troll? He's really good at it. It's really fun. Musk grew up surrounded by basically South African slaves. He views all non-white humans as subhuman and they need to be controlled. Yes, he does. Richie Goss says, I've been saying that for years. He grew up with domestic servants and wants the world to have apartheid. Yeah. I was born on Friday the 13th, which kind of tracks. That's kind of cool, though. Yeah. What was the connection between Friday the 13th, the movie, right? And the date, Friday the 13th? What was the connection in the original? What were all the murders on Friday the 13th? Was that the anniversary of the death of Jason Voorhees? Well, the apparent death of Jason Voorhees as a kid. Was that it? Was that? I don't know. The Trump crime family has caused protests in Albania. Yeah, exactly. So this is about this little island off the coast of Albania, which is actually in a really narrow point of the sea. It's where the Adriatic becomes the Ionian Sea. And it's a very important strategic point. And when Hoxha was in charge, I'm probably saying that wrong, but was in charge of Albania in the 1940s and that, he built all these concrete bunkers. There's like hundreds of concrete bunkers on this island for them to all go and live in. Hunter Biden is awesome. He's pretty funny. Worth a follow. So Hunter Biden's worth a follow. And Vivian, the daughter of Elon Musk, she's worth a follow as well. She fucking hates him. Also, is it Mary Trump? Is it Mary? Is it Mary who's the niece, I think, of Donald Trump, or cousin or something? And she just goes to town on him every fucking day. She does some really good videos about how he's a fucking lunatic. Farsight says definitely hates the current South African government. Why do you think they are spreading those stories about whites being persecuted and the only immigrants that are allowed in were white? Yeah. Oh yeah, we're being persecuted. You know, because that one time that the police turned up in the middle of the night, and they've been called there because they were told there was a racist attack going on, and they misinterpreted what was going on, and they put cuffs on the white kid who had actually been stabbed. You know, all the times that has happened once. Yeah, it's a trend. Because normally when the police turn up in the middle of the night and there's a black kid and a white kid, they normally think, yeah, the white kid's probably the one who's done the bad thing here. Yeah. I've got so many instances of that happening. Because the white police officers are systemically prejudicial against white people. Did you know that? Hunter Biden says he'll fight Trump Jr. I know who I'll bet on. More than that, he went to school in the private posh white school in apartheid South Africa. Imagine what he was taught in school from a young age about races, etc. Not even meant at home. Yeah. And there's the fact that his father didn't marry. He was had a relationship with his own stepdaughter, who he raised from the age of 3, and had 2 children together. So Musk has a sister niece and a brother nephew. I mean, that's a fucked up family. That's a seriously fucked up family. So yeah, vaccines. So £1 spent on vaccines returns $54. Well, $1 spent on vaccines returns $54 in reduced healthcare costs, because it is a lot cheaper to give someone a vaccine against a disease than let them get the disease and then try and treat them. And if you are unsuccessful at bringing them back from the edge of death using the miracle that is modern medicine, then the kid dies, and any money that you've invested in that kid up to that age, you know, that's all gone. So any schooling they got off the state, any other kind of medical intervention they had, that's all a bit of waste of money, hasn't it? Yeah. But yeah, if you ever meet an anti-vaxxer, ask them why they love big pharma so much, big pharmaceutical companies. What are they? Ask them, are you working for GlaxoSmithKline? Are you working for AstraZeneca? Just ask them straight up. And if they go no, I say, well, why are you making them money? Why do you want people to be treated in hospital for these diseases that we could otherwise vaccinate against, and no one would have to get them? You know, that I genuinely believe that it's not just a case of me believing it. Have a look at the rates for cervical cancer for women who have been vaccinated against the HPV virus. Have a look. It's like, I don't think anyone. I think it's just cut it down to complete zero for that particular cohort. My sister died of cervical cancer. If she had been born 30 years later than she was, she'll still be with us now. Or if that program had been in, with us. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, I anti-vaxxers, I fucking hate them. I genuinely think they are scum of the earth, and they're not just stupid, like they're evil stupid. And that's a big problem that we've got right now, because it's not just that the stupid people out there, the stupid evil. And I blame Forrest Gump for this. I blame Forrest Gump, the movie, for making people believe that there was something sweet and innocent and valuable in being thick as pig shit. And I know that Forrest Gump himself had learning difficulties, so it wasn't his fault he was thick as pig shit. But this idea that everyone who's a dickhead is really nice, it doesn't play out in real life. Most of the dickheads you'll ever meet who are just thick as pig shit, like wantonly thick. I'm not talking about not having academic qualifications. I'm talking about people who are just incurious knobheads. Generally, they're horrible as well. You know, they're because they hold real prejudices in their heart because they don't know any better, I guess. Got an enlarged amygdala, so they perceive hatred as more important. Fear, and that leads to hatred. Obviously, you've heard Yoda on that one. You know, that fear is their driving motivation for doing anything. The George only. Thank you very much. This White House lawn cage fight spectacle is deeply sick. Yeah, I hope it rains. And I hope it's really shit. Well, I'll find it really shit anyway. Chris says, "Oh, I don't need to imagine the toxic rhetoric they would have taught the kids as basic Nazism." Well, yeah, Elon Musk comes from a group of American and Canadian fascists who moved to South Africa after the war because they realized that that wasn't going to become fascist enough in America because the Nazis lost the war. They were very upset about that. They were very upset about the Nazis losing the war, so they actively moved to South Africa. They weren't part of the Boers. They weren't part of the British who went over in the 1880s. No. They were there. They moved there in the 1940s because they were American fascists and they didn't like the idea that America had kicked Nazi Germany's arse in the war. So yeah, back to vaccinations. The Trump administration withheld $600 million that had already been appropriated by Congress for Gavi. Gavi is the support. It's a vaccination program. Let's just call it the vaccination program. The estimate loss of US support could leave 75 million children without routine vaccines over 5 years. And this was overnight. They weren't given 2 months to prepare and, get the vaccines for 2 months and then, find somewhere else to get them. No, it was just cut off brutally, absolutely brutally. And this alone could lead to 1.2 million additional child deaths. That's on top of the child deaths that we're likely to see because of malnutrition, because of diarrhea, because of other ailments and maladies that exist in developing nations. And then talking about diseases, Ebola, HIV, tuberculosis, malaria, Trump joked on a televised cabinet meeting about accidentally cancelling Ebola prevention. Accidentally. That's the word he used, accidental. Sketchy little fucking weirdo. Sketchy fucking little weirdo. And, Enrich has testified that the promised fix to the Ebola prevention program never came. And drug-resistant TB clinical trials were interrupted, risking patients' lives and encouraging more resistant strains. So one of the worst things you can do is an incomplete genocide when it comes to diseases. For instance, we got rid of smallpox. Brilliant, okay? But then we didn't get rid of malaria. We did in the rich countries. So all the rich developed countries, they got rid of malaria. And they did this usually by using DEET, by using this chemical that they sprayed on crops and sprayed on other things and got rid of the malarious mosquitoes, right? And this was being done in other countries as well. For the purposes of my example here, this happened in Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, they managed to get rid of 99% of the malarious mosquitoes. And then, because DEET was found to be killing fish in the water, in the rivers and stuff, and it was it's a bad chemical to use. It is. They decided to shut down the program before they got to 100%. Right, it was a stupid fucking thing to do. And there's a bit of an irony here, isn't it? That they're going, oh well, we're all right, Jack. We've got rid of it in Southern Europe and in the Southern USA. We got rid of malaria there. So do we really need to get rid of it elsewhere? Isn't it a good way of keeping down the population in other countries? Divide and conquer, kill and conquer, and kill and rule. And so yeah, they got rid of 99% of these mosquitoes, and they were left with the 1% who are a little bit resistant. little bit harder to kill. And that was only that 1% that was allowed to generate the next generation. Because you can't fuck if you're dead. So, yeah, now places like Sri Lanka and other places around the world, their mosquitoes are more deadly and spread malaria, the malaria parasite, more effectively than they did, let's say, 100 years ago. And if you're running clinical trials on drug-resistant TB and you stop that trial halfway through, and that TB, which is already mutated, that's why it's drug-resistant, and then it's got a chance to mutate against the drug-resistant drug. The drug that is created for this drug-resistant strain of TB has a chance to evolve and change and then pass on to somebody else. Essentially, the mosquitoes that were left in Sri Lanka were double hard bastards, and the TB that has been left in people's bodies and their lungs has turned into double hard bastards. Fucking TB now, more resistant strains. HIV rates amongst newborns in places like Mozambique were around 0 when some clinics began cuts, and then the numbers went through the roof very, very quickly. So a lot of people, Southern Africa, HIV positive, been HIV positive for years, take medication, antiretrovirals. That's another thing. People didn't believe that AIDS was a thing. They didn't believe that famously the Foo Fighters did a concert for some AIDS denying motherfucker. And then there was a guy called Matthias Rath who went over to South Africa and told the South African government that, AIDS wasn't really a thing. It was just made up. Just need to eat some vitamins. You never guess what Matthias Rath sold. Vitamins. And would you believe it? Hundreds of thousands of people died. And millions more people got HIV who otherwise would not have got HIV. But he said, no, it doesn't really exist. But it does exist, and it fucking kills. The only thing keeping people alive who have got HIV is medicine. All through their life, every day you have to take pills if you're HIV positive. The rest of your life. I mean, that's kind of good for the profits of the pharmaceutical companies, don't you think? And then people whose lives are not affected by HIV in any way, shape, or form can be free to just run around saying, oh, it's not real. It's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. It's just cancer. I thought you just said cancer's not real. Well, cancer's not real either. I mean, until it affects me, and then I'll believe it's real. But then, I mean, there's people who don't believe that chemotherapy works, that radiotherapy works, that immunotherapy works against cancer. It fucking does. You know? Might not work for every type of cancer. Of course it won't. There's about 1,000 different types of fucking cancer. In fact, let's find out how many different types of cancer there are. Let's ask the internet. How many different kinds of cancer are there? There's over 200 distinct types of cancer. Over 200. So when people talk about a cure for cancer, they're talking about a cure for 200 distinct types of cancer. The 5 main categories are carcinomas, sarcomas, leukemias, lymphomas, and myelomas. But any organ of your body can get cancer, and there's all different types of cancer that each organ of your body can get. 200 different types. But there's people who believe it doesn't exist. And they, or they'll get chemotherapy and it'll feel like shit. And then these rat men, these fucking gobshites will come all out the woodwork and say, oh, what you want to do is, have you tried drinking some juice? Have you tried drinking some juice? And they stop getting the chemotherapy and they drink some juice instead. And they fucking die. Or they get better and they go, it must have been the juice, not the chemotherapy that you had. No, it wasn't in the juice. I mean, if juice really cured cancer, or at least kept it away, then no one in the West would get cancer. But yeah, in Mozambique and other African countries where these programs were put in place by USAID, it's not just that they took them away, which is bad enough. They took them away with no notice whatsoever. So there were women in labour who were expecting the procedure to be done so that the baby wouldn't be infected with HIV when the baby was born. And they're expecting that to be done. And the phone call came through and said, don't do it, essentially. Happy birthday, Kate, says Richie Goth. We all have cancer. It's only when the immune system doesn't destroy the cancer cells that becomes a problem. Yeah, that's true. True. I mean, all cancer is your cell divides, and which happens billions of times every fucking day, and sometimes it goes wrong. From Wiki, voluntary segregation by income appears to increase since 1990. Racial segregation has either increased or stayed constant since 1990, depending on the definition of what definition of segregation is used. That's what happened to Bob Marley and Steve Jobs. Both went to gurus for advice and rejected science. Yeah. So did Andy Kaufman, didn't he? Although, the type of cancers that they had, maybe they would have killed them anyway. But there's some people out there who really want to make lots of money. I don't care how they do it. And if that requires some people to die, well, can't make a million without breaking some heads. Anyway, malaria and tuberculosis programs were disrupted because expert teams lost access and contracts and operating capability. And then you had, the efficiency fund of DOGE. It cut people and services systems without producing serious savings. I mean, the Cato found no visible DOGE effects on the federal spending trajectory, and the loss of public health capacity created higher future costs through outbreaks, famine, emergency response, and lost human capital. The malnutrition, right? So this was reported in Nature, on the Nature website, can reduce national GDP by 3 to 16% through lost productivity and health costs. Because if you're ill, you're not fucking working, are you? And then you've got also, which I've got to mention this, is like the race angle in all this. We've been mentioning it in the chat. The Guardian analysis found Musk posted or endorsed race-related material on 26 of the 31 days of January this year. He posted that whites are a rapidly dying minority. I don't think they're dying any more rapidly than anyone else. Is that the plan? He's like, oh, well, if people in Africa can die more rapidly, then the whites will be in charge forever. Yay. He repeatedly promoted claims about white genocide and discrimination against white people. And we've seen this today with Nigel Farage talking about how white kids are badly served by schools and they're not turning up for school and they don't want to learn. And it's all because of anti-white prejudice. And you're like, no, mate. I think it's more to do with the fact that Thatcher closed down all the fucking industry around here in the 1980s and didn't replace it with anything. That's more to do with it. But if you want to create a group of victims with victimhood stamped all over them and say, oh, it's not your fault that it's not your fault that what's going on in the world and why things turned out the way they did for you. If I did that, I'd be called a snowflake. But if the right do that, oh no, it's fine. It's just the reason that the socioeconomic brackets are where they are. For me, it's because of the lack of investment over the last 50 years in this place in Durham. And from the right wingers, it's because teachers and the police and the civil service and countless governments have been prejudiced against white people. That's why they've done no good in school. Heidi Berek of the Global Project Against Extremism said some posts looked indistinguishable, some posts by Musk earlier this year, from white supremacist material. And William Braniff, who was a former DHS extremism official, he said that Musk echoed textbook great replacement narratives, this idea that people from China and people from Africa and people from the Middle East are going to replace white people. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There might be more of them. There is more of them. So what? It's fine. You know, I don't sit here every day going, oh, what if in 1,000,000 years' time there's no more ginger people? I'm never going to think that, because there will be. There'll always be ginger people. Even if you wiped all ginger people off the planet. It's a recessive gene. There will be more ginger people. If you killed every mule on the planet, there would still be mules, because it's half a horse, half a donkey. Whatever, unless you get rid of all the horses and all the donkeys, you're going to get mules. I mean, left-handed people. Go and kill all the left-handed people. That'll stop that from ever happening again. Kill all the gay people so people don't turn gay. It doesn't work like that. You have a perfectly heterosexual couple and they can have a perfectly gay child, because that's just the way it works. Or being trans. Let's exclude trans people from everyday life, so they all, I don't know, go and fucking colonize Mars or something. I don't know what they expect trans people to do. But even if they did manage to do that, get all the trans people on the planet, put them on a big spaceship, send them off to Alpha Centauri, there'll still be trans people. The next year, there'll be lots of trans babies born. And within 20 years, there'll be loads of trans people again. I'm not bothered. There's not going to be a case of there never being white people. And white's not even a fucking race anyway. It was just made up to be a term for like people who aren't particularly from Africa, or aren't particularly from India, or aren't particularly from China. This is the it's like the English in the British Isles. What are you? Well, I'm not Scottish and I'm not Welsh. Yeah, but what are you? Like people who describe themselves in terms of things they don't do. I know I shouldn't go on about this. It really winds me up. You meet someone and they tell you for no reason all the things, they list all the things they don't do. And you're like, okay, but what do you do? I don't want to hear about your job. I'm a bit French on that. You ever meet a French person who gives a fuck what job you do? I don't. They don't talk about their jobs, the French. They don't give a shit. It's like, what do you do with your life? And they're like, I don't go out and read books in cafes. And you're like, no, but what do you do? Like, for a living? Oh, I breathe. I eat really good food. I wish we were a bit more like that. But yeah, describing yourself in a negative. But I as a Scouser, I feel more affinity to someone like Craig Charles, right, than I do necessarily to someone who's from Azerbaijan. I suppose Georgia. Let's say Georgia. And there's someone from Georgia, the country, not the state. I mean, no offense to people from Georgia, but I'm grouped in the same character. I'm grouped with the same people as them. When I fill out the form and it says, what ethnic group do you regard yourself as? I end up ticking, white British, white European. But I feel like I've got a lot more in common with Craig Charles, who grew up in Liverpool, who sounds a bit like me, than I do with some other fucker from thousands of miles away who just happens to have a lack of melanin in his skin. I don't think that'll look too much like Noel Gallagher or the Hood from Thunderbirds. Do you know what I mean? I don't have big black eyebrows with hairs flying everywhere. I don't have a big black beard. But apparently I'm the same ethnic group as someone who does. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's just all made up. When you see a straight border between countries, it's just a made-up border. It's not a natural border. It's not a river. It's not a mountain range. It's just a fucking straight line on a fucking map. Absolutely arbitrary. And I feel the same way about the way that we divide up race. You see someone from India who's from South India, they can look more black than someone who's African from North Africa in terms of the colour of their skin. They're not black. They're Indian. It's just, and 99% of that 1% difference exists within Africa. Yeah. Define your terms. It's kryptonite to right-wing twats. Yeah. Well, this is why I wish that more politicians, when these motherfuckers, there was someone dead. What's stupid in the hook? I thought King Charles was dead. I was like looking at my shoulder going, oh, it's showing Buckingham Palace. Something must have happened. The 1% difference only exists within Africa. Yeah. It's only that 0.01% that makes each and every one of us unique. Yeah. It is a crazy, arbitrary system that we have to divide people up in. Sorry, I was going to say something then, but I got distracted by the fact I thought the king had carked it. I did okay on my SpaceX shares yesterday, enough to fill the car up with petrol, buy a takeaway, and get a haircut. Dragons Marine says the border to push gated communities are the bigger problem. Yes, I agree. Wishful thinking. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. The way that we define different groups in society is a bit mad, as far as I'm concerned. Because what do you base it on, or what you got more in common on? Sorry, I was going to say, when these motherfuckers, these transphobic twats like Nick, what's his name, Nick Ferrari, privately educated, of course, go on, get a politician on, and they go, "What's a woman? What's a woman?" Right? Instead of trying to answer that question, throw it back at them. Go on, then, define it. What do you think a woman is? Well, I think a woman is someone with boobs. Well, what if they had a mastectomy? Okay, a woman is someone with ovaries. What if they've had a hysterectomy? Does that mean they're not a woman anymore? Well, it's someone who, Hey. Sorry, I have a text message I need to read. No. Okay. Funny World Cup news. England World Cup boots stolen before first training session in Kansas City. Yeah. Damn internet, says L. But yeah, throw the question back to the interviewer. Go on. Define a woman. It's impossible. It's so difficult to actually define what it is, an immutable characteristic of women. I mean, you've got like J.K. Rowling to say they've got large gametes. How do you tell that when you see them? When you see someone using the bog, you're going to go, I've got to check whether you've got large gametes or not. Oh, that's a defining characteristic. Okay. If there were different biological races, which there isn't, to be clear, there would be something like West African, East African, and South African, and everyone outside Africa would be East African. That's very true, actually. And that's it. That's another good point. Like, lumping all black people together and saying they are black is an absolute madness. Because people from West Africa look very different from people from East Africa. If you meet someone from Africa and they're generally broad and their nose is quite broad, they're usually, not all the time, but they're usually from West Africa. If they're very tall and skinny and have a narrow face, they're usually from East Africa. It's not all across the board, but, just generally speaking. Because, there's a few thousand miles between these two groups that grew over millions of years, split off a million years ago from each other. Saz, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. From a once specky four eyes for confetti. Thanks very much, Saz. It's very kind of you. Nothing wrong with being a specky four eyes ginger. Someone who was born female, they'll say, with a girl's birth certificate, they'll say. So the accident, but what about intersex people? What about when it's not obvious? You get a pediatrician in and talk about sometimes it not being obvious whether a baby is male or female in that respect. Confetti time, says Viper Scott. Well, hey, you are absolutely right. It is confetti time, and since I'm feeling a bit fruity this morning, I might actually give you some Boba Fett. Oh, hang on. That's the wrong one. This is the one. Boba Fetty. Yes, that's better. Boba Fetty. I'm Getty with the Boba Fetty. Anyway, so yeah, that was Boba Fetty there. So thank you very much to Viper Scott for triggering the Boba Fetty. That's very cool. I've not got too much to rabbit on about, but I will wrap up soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to start another goal. You can't stop me. That's all right. We've already had confetti twice today, so don't worry about it. But it is Kate's birthday. It is Pretty Kate Machine's birthday. Pretty Kate Machine is such a good name. I think if I had a cat, I'd call my cat Pretty Kate Machine. That's awesome. After the 9 Inch Nails album, good news. There's a 75% chance of severe thunderstorms hitting Washington, D.C. this evening, just in time for Trump's birthday bash. Yoo-hoo! Is that tonight? It will be tonight, won't it? It'll be for tomorrow for us because the time difference, I think. Something like that. Anyway, so yeah, talking about like what is a woman, just throw it back at the people trying to define, trying to think of this whole gotcha. But like, what does it matter? I watched the last episode of Tiptoe last night, and I was just left so enraged, angry, upset, bereft. I mean, it's fantastic. It's only 5 episodes. Please watch it. But I mean, if you're feeling vulnerable, trigger warning. It's really grim from the very start when it comes to homophobic and transphobic attacks, and violence. It's I just can't believe that this is it. 2026, and this is where we are. And it's interesting. I don't know if Russell T Davis has been watching my channel or whether, we're just great minds think alike. But I was talking yesterday on the show with our man Phil on the agenda, and I was saying like that line of like, why do you believe strangers on the internet who leave comments? Why do you believe knobheads on YouTube? Why don't you know me? Why don't you believe me and my lived experience and what I have learned about the world for actually getting off my arse and going to see it, right? That's one part of it. Last night, there's a conversation where, so this isn't a spoiler, I don't think, where he says, 15 years ago, it just seemed all right. We seem to be getting there. And I'm like, fucking hell, I say that all the time because 15 years ago, I was traveling to every country in the world without flying. And it was a damn sight easier and safer than it is right now. I'm writing my book at the moment. I'm writing I'm doing a thing called Graham Hughes Right Some Wrongs. And thanks to everyone who joins me on that. Diz joins in, and Gallifreyan Men and others just pop in and say hi. And it's just a small gang of us doing it. And for me, it's kind of like, I've realised that it's not deadlines that I need as such. It's start lines. It's a moment where I'm like, okay, it's 1 o'clock. I've got to start this. It's 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever this morning. But there's a certain time I've got to start this thing, and then the panic of having to be ready and get everything in place to get started is what drives me to get going on that and actually start it. So that's good. But I was writing yesterday or the day before now about my travel to Iraq, and to get there, I had to go through an area that was the Kurdish area of Turkey. And at the time, you've got the PKK, right, who were a terrorist group, who were a prescribed terrorist group, right? When I went to that area of Turkey in January of 2010, there was a ceasefire that came in the year before, and then it ended later that year. And that was my window. That was my window that I went in overland through Turkish Kurdistan into Iraqi Kurdistan. And I'm just looking back on that now and going, bloody hell. When I traveled through Nigeria, I had to go through, I didn't go through Port Harcourt, but I went from Lagos to a place called Calabar. So if you imagine Nigeria like a big square, I basically went along the south coast. We didn't go too close to the Niger Delta because there was a a militant uprising, a military, sorry, uprising, an insurgent group in that particular area of Nigeria at the time. And I wanted to go to the north of the country. I wanted to cross the border in the very northeast of the country, at a place called Madurai, I think, something like that. And I couldn't do that because that exact place was the very first place that a massacre happened caused by Boko Haram earlier that year. It was like a couple of months before I got there. Boko Haram started, and they went into a school and did something fucking horrible. And it was in this border town that I was hoping to cross over into Cameroon there. So I ended up changing my route, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be going quite close to the Niger Delta. That might be a bit dangerous. But literally on the day that I arrived, there was a ceasefire announced and a weapons amnesty for the people caught up in this. On the day I arrived in Nigeria, and I'm just like, either I'm just like the luckiest person in the world, or, you know what, 15, 16 years ago, things were all right. I'm not saying they were perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but God, they're better than they are now. I thought it was really interesting. I specifically said 15 years ago. 15 years ago, things seemed to be going in the right direction, and now they're absolutely not. Viper Scott has been a member for 20 months. Thank you so much, Viper Scott. And as in celebration of that, has bought 5 Hughes of the World gift memberships for 1 month for our friends Roger Devine. Roger, you remember? We got Wids of there. We got Baileyco. We've got Timpanist Moth. And we've also got Mark as well. Mark BKLYN. Brooklyn, is that maybe? Mark Brooklyn. You've all been given gift memberships. So welcome one, welcome all to the channel. You are very welcome to be on the Hughes the World channel. You now, if any of you who've just received a gift membership want to write something in the chat here, you'll get a little rose after your name, which is fucking fantastic. And when I get around to it, I'll update the credits at the end of the show, so you'll get credited there as well. And then Fitty Cake Machine, a member for 14 months to my birthday twin Chrissy. Oh, it's Christy's birthday as well. Oh, this is amazing. This is so good. This is for you, Chrissy. Birthday cafe. Woo! Yeah. Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh yeah. Okay. Farsight. So it's depressing how the world has regressed in so many ways. Hopefully we can turn things around. But there's also the increasing effects of climate change to contend with going forward. Yeah, Farsight. Now, a lot of us look at like the Summer Olympics in 2012 as like a bit of a turning point, right? Because that was like a big hurrah for Britain and its foolishness and its, tongue-in-cheek attitude to, our place in the world. And it was sweet and it was affirming and it was exciting, and Britain kept on winning medals. That was unusual because we didn't usually win that much. But I think it was the Copenhagen Climate Summit of 2009. Genuinely think that's when it started going wrong, because that was just after 2008 when you had the credit crunch, right? And then we had the climate summit. And I think that's when the oil companies went, oh shit. At that moment, the oil companies started funding dictators, funding wars, funding the likes of Trump, funding transphobia. That was the point where they went, we've really got to stop the world from becoming what they would call too woke, and therefore not burning oil. Because all they wanted us to do was burn oil, burn more oil, burn oil, just for no reason. Just keep the engine running. Just keep the engine running forever. So there you go. Oh, God. Oh, I hate it when I've got an advert on my phone. Go away. Roger, no worries. Just enjoy your membership. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much, Alistair. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the race angle in this, right? Musk consistently talks about birth rates and population decline. The most The people most harmed by USAID cuts are overwhelmingly poor, most overwhelmingly not white, children living in the global south. Poor, not white children living in the global south. Severe wasting deaths, vaccine deaths, malaria deaths, and HIV transmission are not, abstract budget outcomes. The contradiction there was is it a contradiction really? If you view this through a white supremacist lens, it makes sense, right? But this is a man who's saying that civilization needs more children. He goes on about that a lot. He's got 57 children of his own. He says civilization needs more children while backing cuts that make children die. And this isn't accidental optics. It fits a broader politics of whose lives are treated as valuable. And then we had the Belfast riots this week, following a serious knife attack reported as Sudanese refugee, legally resident in the UK. Rioters targeted immigrant communities, burned houses and vehicles, and attacked the police. And Musk amplified Restore Britain's leader, Rupert Lowe's, mass deportation rhetoric. He boosted language about dangerous third world savages and added, "This is the way," as a quote from fucking the Mandalorian film, because he's so down with the kids. God, that's embarrassing. Howdy, fellow kids. Ofcom has warned platforms after Belfast that some unrest appeared to have been incited online. Well, do something about it, you cunts. I fucking hate Ofcom. Run by a privately educated twat who took over from the last privately educated cunt. The chairperson of Ofcom is privately educated. Everyone in that is just dead posh. It's just a fucking club of tweed and twattishness. Just going, oh, well, they seem to be promoting fascism on GB News again. Oh, should we do something about it? No, fuck that, Bertie. I've got things to do. Like, I'm going to, snort this cocaine. I'm so rich. Well, Daddy was so rich. And don't forget, Musk owns Twitter, and he uses it as a political weapon. He owns the platform, and he spreads and boosts far-right narratives. He has more than 200 million followers on X, but most of them are bots, but still. He can promote fringe actors without needing newspapers, broadcasters, or party structures. He controls both the megaphone and parts of the moderation system. Sorry, the parts of he just does. I mean, he has the megaphone and the moderating system, so he can suppress anyone saying, "Hey, this is a bad thing to do," rioting and murdering people and setting things on fire. But he can then moderate them down, and then he can boost unrest. And he's not some kind of outside commentator. He's the owner of the infrastructure that is carrying this white supremacist message. Grok. Do you know what? This is like a shopping list, isn't it, of all the horrible things he's done? And we're not even going to touch this fucking surface because we've only got a couple of hours. Grok generated non-consensual sexualized AI images of children and adults, but I mean, that's bad enough. But of children? Of minors? You fucking kidding me? You created a tool for pedophiles to take the clothes off children. What? Own rules ban the sexualization or exploitation of children. And they just did it anyway. Ofcom opened a formal investigation into X on the Online Safety Act. Nothing's come of it. Nothing will come of it because they all went to fucking school together. They all play fucking soggy cracker together. That's what they do. Reuters have reported that Canada's Privacy Commissioner found Grok's image tool breached privacy law. Privacy law. Fucking... Just think about all the people who went to jail over the years for being gay or peddling pornography or writing a book that had the word cunt in it. They were sent to jail for decency. That's the word they used. Decency. Crimes against decency. And then we have this, and they're saying, "Oh, it must be the privacy law that they breached." How about the decency law? Is there no decency anymore? Real decency? Because back in the day, it was just used to, go after people who they were in minority that were not, socially accepted. Decency. Maybe we could have some new laws on decency. Maybe as part of those decency laws can say that one foreign-based billionaire can't run all of our fucking media systems, can't run all of our newspapers, can't run all of our social media platforms. Sorry, not one, a handful. A handful of foreign-based gobshites. And, Musk's reoccurring pattern is, Tesla and SpaceX and Neuralink and X and DOGE and XAI are all sold with like this civilization-saving messages, this sort of civilization-saving language. But the practical record for Musk includes labor disputes at all his companies, moderation collapse on his public information platforms, a microblogging fucking site like Twitter, public health vandalism, extremist amplification, and AI safety failures. And Musk presents himself as the man solving humanity's future while, actively causing harm in the present. His companies benefit from public contracts and public tolerance and public infrastructure. The richer he becomes, the harder he is for governments to discipline. And the lies that they'll say is like things like USAID was wasteful, and targeted audits do not require destroying disease surveillance or famine warnings or vaccines or therapeutic food. You can have an audit, that's fine. Find out where the waste is. You don't just cut the whole thing off unless you want to kill people, which he does. He loves killing people, gets off on it. Charity begins at home. That's another argument that the Americans use, and people who are against foreign aid over here in the UK. Disease control, food security, stability for commerce, logistics, oil. It affects everyone. It affects everyone on the fucking planet, you fucking dickheads. It does a massive Ebola outbreak in Africa. It ain't going to stay in Africa too long. Unless something is done. Unless something is done to prevent it moving elsewhere. They talk about the deaths. This is just modeling. No, this isn't just model data. This has actually happened. We've already seen over 700,000 people dying in the last year as a result of Elon Musk's USAID cuts. And real people really fucking dead. I mean, you can talk about how many that might extrapolate to in the future, but right now, you're looking at over 700,000 people dead because of Elon Musk as a direct result of that piece of shit human being. Resloy, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Richest man in the world. Do you think he'd do some good in the world, like helping homeless people, etc.? What a gobshite racist prick. That's putting it mildly. Gobshite racist prick. You're absolutely right, Resloy, to say that. He is just the fucking worst. He's the worst of all of us. He's the absolute fucking worst. And he's not even a genius. Do you know what I mean? He's just a lucky cunt who happened to be born in apartheid era South Africa. His daddy just happened to have a fucking emerald mine. He had the money to go to America, stay there illegally, get away with it. Illegal immigrant, he was. Outstayed his fucking visa, he did. You don't become that rich by being a normal person. Yeah. By having things like morality or decency or empathy, which he claims is the worst thing in the world. Is people got too much empathy, he said. The people say that Musk didn't personally make every decision, but he branded it, he promoted it, he celebrated DOGE's attack on USAID. He said he fed it into the wood chipper. He made a joke about, what could I do today? Should I feed USAID into the wood chipper or go to a party? Oh well, I'll take all this aid away from starving children in the global south. Rather than go to a party. Made a joke about it because he's a sick little fuck. He's a sick little twisted, sociopathic, psychopathic, nepo baby motherfucker. SpaceX does useful things, apparently. Okay, cool. Do you know who else does useful things? Toyota. They make cars. They're all right. The revenue to market cap is what, 0.88, is it? 0.8, yeah, times, yeah. Whereas the ratio for, the revenue versus market cap for SpaceX as of yesterday, it's 110 times. 110 times. I mean, Apple, which you could argue is overvalued, is 9 times. The biggest car company in the world, Toyota, is less than 1. Less than 1. That's the ratio between the amount of revenue they get in and their market cap, as in, how much people think the company is worth. SpaceX does useful things. Well, you know what? Toyota doesn't fucking kill loads of children in Africa, as far as I'm concerned. Weren't involved in it. Engineering success or even failure in terms of the spaceship it keeps fucking exploding does not excuse preventable mass harm through political means. DOGE promised huge savings and failed to deliver them. USAID cuts disrupted systems that kept children alive. Morality models. Morality. Talk about morality, yeah. Mortality models point to hundreds of thousands already dead and millions more at risk. Musk. I keep getting Trump and Musk mixed up because it's very easy to do, isn't it? His trillionaire status is inseparable from the political power he's been allowed to wield. And he is, first trillionaire in the world, has no interest in making things better for you and me or anybody else. In fact, he hasn't made the world safer in any demonstrable form. In fact, he has made it demonstrably more dangerous, more deadly, more brutal, nasty, and short, just like him. He's made the world in his own image. He is the epitome of a useless meat sack full of everything that is inhumane, immoral, and abhorrent. Yep. And when he dies, there's going to be a big, beautiful day as well. There's going to be a big, beautiful day. Big, big and beautiful. It's going to be so big. It's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be big and beautiful. Okay, well, listen. I was going to get off because I have rabbited on for 1 hour and 42 minutes about how much of a twat Elon Musk is. I don't know if you learned anything this morning, but it's nice just to let the pressure valve off and just go, fucking cunts. Do you know what I mean? That's what I like doing. I like sitting down with you lot and just going, isn't this guy a gobshite? And then you're all in the chat going, yeah, he is a gobshite. Makes me feel less alone in this because there's a million fucking people who bought shares yesterday in this gobshite's company because it's got a market cap of $28 trillion fucking dollars, which is $28,000 for every man, woman, and child in developed countries around the world. Fucking crazy. Agree Tiptoe is a must-see. It is absolutely brutal. Be prepared. It's a lot, but God, it's good. Alan Cumming is absolutely fucking awesome in it. He's really, really good. And the guy who plays the bad guy in it, the neighbor, that's Dave Morrissey, and I love him. He's a brilliant actor. He was the bad guy in one of the seasons of The Walking Dead. Where they turned up somewhere and they thought it was safe, and then it turned out it was run by a bunch of psychos, and then they ran away and went somewhere else, and then the same thing happened again the season afterwards. I think it was like the 4th season they ran into David Morrissey. He's very good. My only criticism, right, is this: David Morrissey's from Liverpool, and he plays his character in Tiptoe with his native Scouse accent. And I'm like, oh, did he have to be a Scouser? Because he's such a twat. He's such a twat. He's a Brexiter. He's homophobic. He's racist. He's misogynistic. He believes everything he reads on the internet. He's just a twat. He's just an absolute twat. And I wish he didn't have a Liverpool accent. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Morrissey, you arsehole. I normally talk about a different Morrissey when I say that. Graham, you provide a valuable service. Thank you, Chris. And so do you, mate. So do you. Chris always puts in what the breaking news is. What's happening out there in the wider world while I'm streaming. So, in case something major happens and I don't actually know about it already, it's always good to have Chris on the scene. Straight in there. Breaking news. One day, Chris, my friend, one day the breaking news will be the three most beautiful words in the universe. No, no, not I love you. No, no, not please help me. No. The most beautiful words in the universe right now, right here on this planet. Trump is dead. Oh, how we're going to party. Oh my God, I will not be sober for days. It's going to be an absolute fucking blowout. It's going to be absolutely fucking epic. I cannot wait. Clip that up. Tell everyone I'm a bad person for wishing the unalivement on another human being. But I don't know if Trump, I don't know if he counts as a human being. Does he? Does he? A man who takes so much pleasure from other people's pain, from other people's discomfort, from other people's deaths. Am I not allowed to celebrate Hitler's death if it was 1945? Oh no, he was married. He was married. He was married for like 5 minutes, but he was married. Viper Scott sending out hugs to all that need them. Thank you very much, Viper Scott. Huggy, huggy, huggy. Trump has died. Trump has died. Everyone's You knew it, didn't you? You knew it. You knew it while I was setting it up. Reminds me of the Eurobeat song that begins, Henry Kissinger has died today. Great days. Great. He lived till he was like 117 years old, didn't he? How old was Henry Kissinger when he finally fucking carked it? 100. He was 100 years old. He was 100 years old. Jesus. Fucking born in Germany in 1923. That explains a lot. Anyway. I just thought he was French. It's not like isn't going to happen given his age. It's statistically not that much longer to wait. Yep. And I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. I'm living for it right now. Definitely living for it. Okay, well, if you wanna stick with me for a little bit longer, let's should we call it a night at 11:30? Yeah, at 11:30. Okay. We'll jump into the chat, shall we? Not the chat, sorry. I love jumping into the chat. Now we'll jump over to the papers. The papers. Here we go. Welcome to the world's poshest podcast. I'd rather die. Lineker, why isn't BBC at the World Cup? I don't know. Because it's going to America and they don't like us and they're trying to sue the BBC. I don't know. Miliband's push to be Burnham Chancellor. Net Zero Minister gives Starmer Challenger advice on how to reassure bond markets. Cool. No artist gave us greater joy than Hockney. That's interesting, coming from the Daily Telegraph. You'd expect that to be a homophobic piece of shit newspaper. And, they probably were back in the day. Oh, this guy is celebrating being gay. Oh. First it was tumble dryers. Now they're after your heated tower rail. Woo! Thank you, you're the best. Yay! I left all of my animations on. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Go off, animation. Sorry. First it was tumble dryers. Now they're after your heated towel rail. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Keep fucking yourself to the end of the universe. Now fuck yourself some more. The Daily Telegraph. Nazi piece of shit. They're going after the hand dryers. Oh, they're going after the washing machines. Oh, they're going after the V8 engines. Oh, they're going after the... Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Stupid fucking newspaper for dickheads. Written by dickheads for dickheads. What else have they got in this garbage pile of shit rags? HMRC. HMRC boss honoured despite phone chaos. Aga's daughter. I know the fate of Sheargar. He fucking died. Farage. Eminem was my inspiration. Oh, fuck off, Farage, you twat. Musk the trillionaire after a SpaceX sloth. And then we've got, are you a sexy blonde or a man repeller? Are you a sexy blonde or a man repeller? That's on the front cover of the Times, owned by Rupert Murdoch. Are you a sexy blonde or a man repeller? What the fuck is that? What even is that? Like, are the two options? One of my shit chat-up lines back in the day was because I'm quite partial to brunettes, and I'll just go saddle up to someone, or someone I've been chatting to maybe, and I'll say, gentlemen prefer blondes, but lucky for you, I'm no gentleman. He's got a drink thrown in my face at that point. Would not recommend. Anyway, so Burnham, I'll cut welfare. No, he didn't quite say that. He didn't say he'll cut it. He didn't. He said he'll reduce the bill, which is different. It doesn't necessarily mean people have to have the welfare. What he was talking about is getting people back into work. And the way they've reported it is like, he's got the big scissors out and he's like, right, that's it. No more PIP for you. No more pension for you. No more this for you. He said, I will cut welfare by getting people into work. Anyway, but they don't report that in the headline. Yeah. He said that he will, rather than implement, this is in the 5th paragraph, he said rather than implement crude cuts to welfare budget, he favoured a preventative approach that would provide the support people need to get back to work. So that's what he's saying. But the way it's reported in the Murdoch rag is, he's going to take away your benefits. Go on, aren't you scared now? Are you scared? Have we scared you to death? I think they want us normal people to be as scared as the Gam-Gams, because the Gam-Gams live in constant fear of absolutely everything. A black family move in on the street, and like, oh my God, I hope they don't kill me. Statistically unlikely, but yeah, all right, mate. Fucking knobheads. Anyway, what else have we got? David Hockney, who's unfortunately died. We liked, but he had a good innings, to be fair. So the Daily Mail here. You call me Sir or the Duke until they send a vampire to suck out every blood of my royal veins. So this is Andrew, who used to be called Prince Andrew, and you've got to call him the Duke, even though he's not a Duke anymore. He's just a deluded twat. Farce as new Defence Secretary hides from media on first day. Minister missing in action. Okay, Daily Mail, come here. Daily Mail, listen to me, all right? Come here, a bit closer. Right, listen, right? Stop being a gang of fucking twats. I know you can't help it because you were born twats and you live like twats and you'll die like a bunch of twats, but you never fucking mention the fact that Nigel Farage hasn't been in his fucking surgery or any of his fucking met any of his constituents or even gone to his constituency for fucking months. The fact that he missed, 70 votes in a row in Parliament because he couldn't be asked turning up. You never mention that, do you? But on the day that the new defense secretary is having to grapple with the release, a brand new job and the release of this new report into defense spending. You expected him to be what? Doing press conferences all day? Oh, missing in action. Fucking arseholes. Anyway, McSweeney is already back advising PM. That's the noise Keir Starmer makes as he circles the drain. Does it matter anymore? Does it really matter? He's on his way out. He's not coming back. We've got David Hockney gracing the cover of the Guardian as a young man. There it is. David Hockney changed the world just by looking at it. Well, no, it wasn't just by looking at it, Jonathan Jones. He actually painted some pictures. He didn't just sit there on a fucking fold-out chair watching the world go by. What a stupid thing to say. Fuck you, Jonathan Jones, you silly twat. Anyway, our hero, Lindsay Burrow, delighted Kevin's knighthood. The wife of tragic Rob Burrow said she was delighted that his rugby pal Kevin Sinfield is to be knighted in the King's birthday honours. Everyone should have a pal like Kev. So that's a positive story. Well, positive thing coming out of something awful, which is this, this rugby player who ended up getting motor neuron disease, the same thing that afflicted Stephen Hawking for many years. World Heritage status for memorial to D-Day heroes. Okay, cool. They're going to protect 50 miles of French coastline as a memorial to people who died in D-Day. Is that the UN doing that? Is that the UN? Okay, cool. Do you like the UN now? Express? Because I'm sure that, if you were in charge, you'd get us out, wouldn't you? Bastards. David Hockney, my kind, generous friends taught the world to see beauty. Yeah, that's a better eulogy than he just sat there on the couch watching the world go by out of the window. What a weird thing. What a weird way to remember an artist. He changed the world just by looking at it. And he did a lot more than that. Anyway, here he is again on the front cover of the FT. Hockney dies, Britain's most popular artist. David Hockney, one of the most popular and influential artists of the past century, has died at age 88. Like I say, good innings, lad. My debut beauty column there, Nigella Lawson. We've got Big on Bond Street. We've got the Burnham effect. Will your finances change? Probably not. The 5 million home swap, more than the holiday lad. We've got SpaceX soars 30% in historic debut, or debut, depending on how you pronounce that. Shares surge on NASDAQ listing. Musk becomes first trillionaire. Valuation surpasses $2 trillion. And then down here, we've got police officer investigated over alleged use of AI to create evidential material. Here it goes. Here we start. Corrupt police officers using fake fucking shit using AI to make up fucking crimes, to make up evidence, to put people in jail for the rest of their lives. We need to stop this. We need to bin in the bud. If something's written by AI, it's got to say, this was written by AI. It needs to say in the text, this was written by AI. And if you copy and paste it, it's in the metadata. You can't get rid of it. It says this is written by AI. And if you try and get rid of it, yeah, that's an offense. All right, you can go to jail for taking the AI watermark off any video or picture or text prose that was created by AI. Personal stakes rise as Starmer faces showdown. Down, down, down. So Keir Starmer faces a decisive week with rival Andy Burnham expected to win the Makerfield by-election and move quickly to unseat him. It'd be great if he turned up. We gotta get the cameras into the cabinet meeting, and Andy Burnham just kicks the door open, just walks in. Turns the seat. It's like one of these seats. He just turns the seat with Starmer on it, just pushes it forward. Starmer goes flying forward onto the floor. Get out my seat, says Andy Burnham. Turns it around, sits like, right, let's fuck some shit up. Farage will still take the massive euro pension. Of course he will. We had to pay for that. £39 billion we had to pay for that. And then these dickheads go, we shouldn't pay it. We shouldn't pay it. You're the ones who voted to have to pay this, Getting people back to work. What work? There isn't jobs out there to start with. Also, force employers to pay a decent wage and fair wage and stop expecting the state to subsidise staff wages. Yep, couldn't agree more, mate. Chris says there's nothing wrong. Heat, pump, tumble dryers, they work just as well as vented or condenser, if not better. I know because I have one and I love it. What's that like? Electric car? It's fucking amazing. I don't know anyone who's got an electric car who wants to go back to the internal combustion engine. It's I love the days when everything was stressful and you needed there's 1,000 things to go wrong on your car instead of just one. Farage's attendance and record in the EU Parliament is the worst. Well, that's because he is the worst. Anyway, we've got 1 minute to get in 3 more super chats for the last confetti of the day. But do you know what? I think you've already been spoilt with a bit of confetti today, so don't worry about it if we don't do it. But here's Andy. Here's Andy as he storms into the cabinet meeting. You just imagine hitting the door with an axe, and then it's like a little thing. Here's Andy. And it's like, oh shit, here's Andy, as you might say in his Scouse accent. He's got a bit of he's got a wool accent. So for those of you who aren't from Liverpool or aren't okay with this, if you're from Liverpool, you're called a Scouser. So I'm called a Scouser, right? If you're over the water in Birkenhead, the Wirral Peninsula, right, you're called a plastic Scouser because you sound like me, but you're not actually a technical Scouser because you weren't born in Liverpool, right? I was born in the same hospital as John Lennon, so I am 100% Scouse. There's no fucking around with it. My mum was born in Liverpool. My dad was born in Liverpool. I am Liverpool born and bred. Now, Andy Burnham was born in Aintree, which is It's not far from where I used to live, actually, up in North Liverpool, in Old Park. But it's sort of on the outskirts. It's quite on the outskirts. It's going up towards Switch Islands, which is on the exit for Liverpool, in some way. And and then he moved. His parents moved to, I think it was Newton Le Willows, which is like halfway between Liverpool and Manchester. So anyone who's not from Liverpool proper, and I think anyone inside of the M57 motorway, the Knowsley Expressway, we regard them as the Scousers. Anyone on the other side of that motorway, we call them woolly backs. And then they can be split into two. You've got good wools and bad wools. So a good wool will be someone who's like, decent, whatever. And then a bad wool will be someone probably from Cheshire who drives a big fucking Chelsea tractor and votes for the refuckers. And we'll call them a bad wool. So Andy Burnham would be a wool, right? Whether he would be a good wool or a bad wool, I don't know. But I'm hoping he was a good wool when it came to being mayor of Manchester. He did quite a good job there. But I'm quite looking forward to having a Scouser as our prime minister for the first time since Gladstone. Come on, that's a bit exciting, isn't it? Isn't it a bit exciting? Even though, yes, technically he was only born in Liverpool and he moved away a few miles up the road when he was very young. But, he's still got the ties to the place and he supports Everton. I think it's probably going to be the first. Yeah, he will be. I think he'll be the first Everton supporting prime minister in history. Boom. Maybe Everton will start doing well. He can like put money over to them. He can shove money at them. Oh my God, George only. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I've read that one. Farage's EU Parliament attendance, and also Sarah Davis, the £2 super chat saying thank you. No, thank you, Sarah Davis. That is so kind of you. Thank you. That is brilliant. And then Viper Scott just in there at the end, just like for the confetti, just for the fuck of it, just for the shit and giggles. So let's do it. 3, 2, 1, confetti. Yay! Thanks, Alistair. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, George only. Thanks to everyone who's chipped in this morning towards the super chats. It's very, very kind of you. You fucking rock. You rock. I need to get like a little animation that comes up. You rock. Like Wild Stallions. Anyway, do you know what I watched last night? We watched TikTok. We watched the last episode of TikTok, and then that was a bit sad. So we were a bit after that. So I was flicking through for ages to try and find something to watch like that I haven't seen. I've seen fucking loads of movies, so it's a bit difficult. So it's got to be something that I haven't seen that actually Kat might want to watch. And generally, if I haven't seen the movie, it's probably not that good or whatever. But I noticed they had Peter Jackson's The Frighteners from 1996 with Michael J. Fox in it. And I was like, fuck it, let's watch The Frighteners. The best Tim Burton movie that Tim Burton never made. It's like a mashup of Tim Burton and Sam Raimi put together to make a movie called The Frighteners. It's a lot of fun. It's very silly. The CGI is so bad now. Oh my God, it is so fucking dated. But it was very funny. Had a good laugh watching that. So yeah, recommended. God, it's 30 years old now. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Farsight, damn, over 80% of new passenger car registrations and up to 96% of sales to private buyers in Denmark, 98% in Norway, even Finland has beat us at 60%. Shame. Are you talking about new passenger car registration? You're talking about electric cars? Yeah, because last year, I think, in Norway, they said all new cars have to be electric. True story. But at least Newton Le Willows is Merseyside, yeah. But we still call them wolves. We just do. Because we're funny like that. We're funny. Oh, you're a wool? You're a wool. Woolly back from, I guess, when people used to sell sheepskins. And just, or like, no, not sheepskin. It would be like a bag full of wool, wouldn't it? They would have had like a Hessen bag full of wool over the shoulder. And they'd come into town to Liverpool and say, I've come to sell me wool. And you're like, you woolly back. So yeah, that's right. Anyway, cheers, Graham, for the amazing stream. Oh, thank you, Chris. Oh, I didn't know it was amazing. That's really nice. Thank you. It's worth getting up on a Saturday for. Cat usually goes to Park on a Saturday, but this morning the what's it called? The wind was just mad. I was all ready to go for like 9 o'clock, and I was like, Ah, shit. So I put it down first of all for 9:15 because I knew I had to go in the back garden and tie things down and stuff. And then I'm out there and I'm like looking at my watch going, well, I don't wear a watch. I'm looking at my phone going, oh shit, I'm going to have to push this back to the lab. So I'm glad I did though, because it gave me a chance to sit down and adjust my wellies. I think I tried to start at 1:15. I would have just been like, what's going on? Like, not be prepared at all, not have any notes to refer to. At Manchester IRA bombing 30 years ago now, yeah. Yeah, that was the year before I went to Manchester Uni. That was. El says, I do have a filter. Oh, you do, El. You do, El. Ooh. It'll agitate the water, though, nicely. More convenient. We noticed, El. A filter, what? El saying, a Tachi back massager is smaller than a washing machine, but it won't wash your clothes. Think of something else you could do with it. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for joining me. I might do a little bit of writing, actually. I might just crack on with a little bit of writing later today. So do me a favor, give us a like if you did enjoy this. If you think, if you agree with Chris that it was an amazing stream, please like it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. That always helps. Hit the bell notification icon if you are subscribed, and you'll get a little ping in your pocket. Hopefully, if YouTube's working. Maybe clear out your cache. You might have to clear out your Johnny Cash and your saved files and stuff. I don't know. I always do that, and then I lose all my bloody passwords. I got to put them all in again, and I got to use my authenticator app, and I'm just, oh, for God's sake. But yeah, I should just go delete everything that's got nothing to do with passwords. Please. No, it's all or nothing, Graham. Do you want to go through and tick everything you want to take off individually? No, I don't. Just, yeah, now and again, just clean up your internet history. You never know who's watching. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being awesome. I might do a show later, doing some writing. If not, I'll definitely be back tomorrow morning, nice and early, 11 o'clock in the morning for the Sunday sermon, which I'm going to try and make it a little bit more like not necessarily about politics. So I might be talking about some scientific breakthrough or something that I'm interested in, and we can all have an argument about technicalities. So please join me for that. Oh, I might talk about movies. I don't know. I might talk about music. I don't know. Just, whatever takes my fancy tomorrow morning, we will be here. We'll talk about it. It might not be about politics unless something majorly political happens. I might talk about the World Cup. Might talk about the round ball Earth Cup. Yeah, whatever I talk about, if you stay in the loop by hitting the bell notification icon, you will find out when we go live. And until that happens, until you see me again, I'll say thank you very much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.